Welcome everyone to a Good Vibes Gaming discussion. I'm your host, Derrick Bittner, and I'm joined once again by my good friends and GVG co-founders Ash Polson and Steve Bowling, and we're here for part 2 of our E3 predictions discussion, as we were on... I should have known we would have filled up an entire hour of Nintendo predictions, but we have a lot of other predictions to give regarding everyone else there, and that includes Xbox, Ubisoft, Square Enix, SEGA, Capcom, Bandai Namco.
I love it.
Bandai Namco, oh my god. I'm keeping it. I don't care. I love it. Bandai Namco, those Animu guys. let's do this. So, let's go ahead and begin with Xbox and Bethesda, as they are a joint conference this time. And I think, let's see how you're feeling about those two at E3 so far. Steve, I'm going to start with you because you have a Series X.
Yeah, I think that we're going to finally get Halo Infinite footage, hopefully. Well, I shouldn't say finally, see what form it's taken since its reveal, since people were really not hot on what was revealed. So I think it's time for Microsoft to check in and let us know how development is going on that game. I'll be honest though, I don't know what they have. It's been a weird year since the launch of it will have been since the launch of the Series X. Like, there has been no Series X exclusive content from Microsoft at all. So I think they have to go hard, kind of showing off what the Xbox can do, because Sony is kind of taking them out at this point. There's, Sony hasn't had like a huge amount of exclusive games, but what they have shown has shown off the PS5 really, really well. They've been very effective at showing what their console can do that the previous generation could not. And Microsoft can't really say that. I can't think of a single game on the Series X that does something that I could think, oh, hey, that wasn't possible before. And they're going right up against it. I know you're well aware of this, Derek, but Ratchet and Clank comes out during E3 essentially. So Microsoft has to show something that proves the value of the Series X beyond it plays old games better than the previous generation. They need to show brand new stuff. And Microsoft, they have kind of a hit or miss record with E3.
Right.
But I think I have to hope, the optimist in me says that because they've been so quiet, that they have plenty to show for these last 7 months of just kind of silence.
I see where you're coming from, Steve, and I agree, but I do question how much Microsoft maybe thinks they have something to prove, because I almost feel like you answered your own question. I don't even know if they're going to, we talked in previous, like in discussions and episodes of TNT, that their model is different from Sony's this generation. They're not focusing so much on their hardware, they're focusing on subscription-style services like Xbox Game Pass, right? And they've already proven themselves with Game Pass. And I wonder if their approach to E3 isn't just going to be more of, hey, look we've got all these cool games coming, but look at Game Pass. Look at these new games coming to Game Pass, and these games are going to be playable not only on Xbox and PC, but on Game Pass. And I just feel like if they're just going to double down on Game Pass, that kind of tracks with what they've been doing so far. I don't know if they're even necessarily interested in engaging Sony on a software level, or like a exclusive software level, right? They seem to be more about selling their platform as a service than trying to compete on the IP front. But I don't know. But they also at the same time do need to show Halo, and I agree. We're going to see Halo Infinite. We're going to see a lot of it, I think, and I have a feeling it might be focused more on the multiplayer aspect of things, because people have been, really wanting to see how that aspect of the game shakes out. I think, people know the story's coming, and I know there's a lot of hype for that, but I feel like multiplayer is maybe really where they might want to show some of the focus for E3.
I think with Microsoft, I don't think we're going to get any kind of surprises. I think we're going to get updates on what we kind of already know. We know we're going to see Halo Infinite. That's almost a guarantee. We're going to see a new Forza. We're probably going to see the new Fable. We're probably going to see new stuff of Perfect Dark. We'll probably see new stuff of the game that Rare's working on. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I'm sure we'll see more of that game, especially after the success of Sea of Thieves. So, there's definitely content there. We're probably going to get new Gears stuff as well that we can expect, but I don't know if they necessarily have any kind of surprise in store for us. Like, maybe they'll toss fighting game fans a bone and we'll get a new Killer Instinct out of nowhere and have it tied into Game Pass in some way, and it just increases value even more in that manner. But I think for Microsoft themselves, I'm not expecting any surprises. I'm expecting a pretty solid lineup, but nothing that sells me on the console, which has been sort of the modus operandi for Microsoft and me personally ever since they started. It was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Not enough for me to get the console. And that's just kind of how they've always held it. So I think it's just going to maintain that.
I think we're going to see some stuff that'll be hype. For instance, we know that the Coalition is working on a new Perfect Dark. I'm hopeful that we'll see something of that, because all we saw last time was just them going up to, a Dynatech building, and that was all. So I hope we see some gameplay of Perfect Dark at E3. I'd give that one about a 50-50 shot of happening. But Ash, to go back to the point you made, I do think that you might be mischaracterizing Microsoft just a little bit.
Possibly, yeah.
And the reason I say that is because they are still, while I agree that their philosophy differs from Sony's in terms of what their end goal is, they are still very much in the traditional console war mentality with them.
Sure.
So
no, that's true.
I think that Sony, right now, like I mentioned, is kind of showing Microsoft up technologically, because they're saying like, oh, cool, you got this xCloud thing you're doing. Meanwhile, we've got zero loading times, and Microsoft has to know that they need to show that, the Series X can do that same stuff. Especially because those Series X's are what is running Microsoft's xCloud infrastructure. So if basically, like Stadia right now is a last gen experience if you're playing Stadia, which is something that, people have given them a rightful raft of shit over, because they said like, oh, we're so much better than PlayStation 4 and Xbox. And then a new PlayStation and a new Xbox came out and Stadia stayed still. Microsoft needs to show that, there is a generational improvement that exists with the Xbox Series X that translates to modern gameplay and not just your old stuff running better.
Right.
Especially because people on xCloud or if you subscribe, you're not going to get all the bells and whistles, because there's no video streaming tech out there for 120 FPS video streams. So you lose that major edge that the Series X has. And there's no other, so the way you demonstrate it is by essentially playing copycat and showing them that, yeah, we can do the ultra fast loading too. And we can, pull people into different levels in the blink of an eye too. But right now, Microsoft doesn't have anything that illustrates that. So I expect we see something in some form that actually shows off that the Series X is capable of these same cool tricks that the PS5 can do. But
sure.
What that is, I don't know. I'm really just hoping for Halo and Perfect Dark.
Yeah. No, and those are all...
And PSO2.
Oh, cool. I know you're... I think we all know you're super...
Yeah, well, New Genesis, and I know we'll talk about Sega in a bit, but Sega and Microsoft are very cozy right now when it comes to PSO in the West. So I would say during Xbox's presentation, we may see some new stuff of PSO2, New Genesis specifically.
No, you bring up a good point. Yeah, no, I should have worded what I said a little better. I didn't mean to suggest, clearly they see themselves in a direct console war with Sony. I was just wondering if maybe they're going to continue going about fighting that a little bit differently and more indirectly in a roundabout way with things like Game Pass. But I agree with you completely, Steve. Like, Sony has been completely showing them up on the technological front. And as we all know and kind of mentioned, the Halo Infinite showcase that we've already seen upset a lot of people. It didn't impress a lot of people. Personally, I thought it looked pretty good, but I'm also not, I am like the most casual Halo. Like, I played most of them, but I'm not like a fan, so I wouldn't know what to look for. And clearly, the prevailing opinion was that it had a lot of work to be done on the technical front. And so I do agree that Microsoft really does need to come out swinging, showing what actually owning an Xbox, the physical platform, does for you over owning a PS5, other than allowing you to play Halo. and such. So I see what you're saying.
I just realized I had forgotten one major aspect of Microsoft and the whole Xbox infrastructure. I discounted because we focused on Xbox and Bethesda, or Microsoft and Bethesda, but Microsoft bought a bunch of other studios too, and this might be the time for them to show off what they're getting from those other studios. We already know Hellblade 2. We might see that as well here. It seems pretty likely since we got that at Game Awards how long ago, so seeing more of that would be pretty cool. I think that might be their key to surprises and getting people excited for the Series X, or even just Game Pass itself, with those games that they got from all those acquisitions, like Psychonauts 2 and again Hellblade 2. Like there's a lot of potential there. Whatever they do from what's the name, the guys who made Fallout New Vegas and whatnot. I'm blanking on their names, but there's a lot of potential there, I think, for new fun surprises that could really excite people and diversify their content.
Yeah. One thing I don't think will be happening is, unfortunately, I've predicted this many years, year after year, and it never happens, and I'm not even going to try anymore. There will be no glory, there's not going to be no glory day of us having our Banjo-Kazooie 3 new first person or new single player Banjo remake. It's not going to happen. There's nothing happening on the Banjo front. I'm just going to put it out right there. I expect nothing on the Banjo front. Yeah,
I agree with that. One thing I will say, and I said this, God, I don't even know what video I said it in, but Phil Spencer in the background of their sets, they've had both a Koji Pro toy and a Switch for going on a couple months now. And I'm desperately hopeful. I'm not too keen on whatever Kojima Productions might be working on with Xbox. It probably won't be great. But if we could get xCloud on the Switch, like just the ability to like remotely play my Xbox games in handheld mode on my Switch. Yes, please.
Yes.
I want that so bad. Or Game Pass on the Switch, like being able to play just whatever the hell is on Game Pass. Something like that. I think that I imagine Microsoft has to be keen to make that happen. I think the only roadblock would be Nintendo not wanting people leaving the Nintendo Switch ecosystem to play other manufacturers' games. But Nintendo and Microsoft have been pretty cozy with each other in terms of crossplay and other stuff like that, and Banjo and Kazooie being in Smash. So I wouldn't rule it out. I would give it a 25% chance of happening, but if it did, it would be the hypest thing I saw at E3 that year.
Yeah.
Yep. Or even just Master Chief Collection on Switch, like a downgraded port. I would take that too, but Game Pass on Switch, yes, please.
That would be so hype if that happened, and that's it. There have been whispers about it. I know more recently there was a kind of a counterclaim to that, saying that allegedly the Nintendo is not interested in doing that. But I hope that that's not the case, because I agree with you, Steve. That would be so hyped to see.
What do we think we might see from Bethesda itself? Do they show off Elder Scrolls 6? Do they show off Starfield? Do they show off, who knows, a new Doom, a new Wolfenstein?
For sure.
What do we...
But I think the caveat with that is that Starfield is Xbox exclusive now.
Oh, absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind. There is no way that Xbox is not going to like swing that power and be like, you want your Elder Scrolls? Yeah. Got to get it on Xbox.
Oh, yeah. There was... What was the Elder Scrolls game they showed off at E3 2019? Like, and by which... I'm using showed off very loosely here, because I think it was just a logo.
It's 6.
It was just
6, right? I would say we...
They just said that 6 is in development.
I bet we get a teaser for 6. Like an actual proper teaser and not just in development,
Maybe, since Sony is so cozy with Square Enix and getting those Final Fantasy like things for a while, maybe like these Elder Scrolls games, these Bethesda games will come out to other consoles eventually, namely the PS5, but it'll be like a year, in the same vein as like Square's exclusivity deal with Final Fantasy.
I could definitely see that.
I was like, all right, you got Final Fantasy, we got Elder Scrolls.
I mean, I know it's bigger for probably most of us here, or all of us here on this discussion, but yeah, in general,
right,
I'd still probably come down on Final Fantasy, but it would be hard to say. It wouldn't be a huge, a wide gulf or anything. Yeah. It's hard for me to predict Bethesda stuff, because I'm really not as much into a lot of their IPs, so... Like I don't think we're gonna see anything on the Doom front because
Yeah.
we just got the Doom Eternal DLC, and I think that's just recently wrapped up. So I don't expect to see anything on the Doom front. But
Right.
it has been quite a while with no news on the Elder Scrolls front, and I know people were kind of dragging Bethesda a bit for even showing, the logo. It was essentially a logo reveal, and then nothing since then. And so I feel like people are pretty damn hungry for some Elder Scrolls 6 news.
Yeah, you know what though? I'm gonna go a bit further with Bethesda. I'm gonna say that we get DLC for most of their currently running flagship titles, like Doom Eternal, that somehow, in some way, incorporate Microsoft properties. Like for instance, I bet we get like a Master Chief skin in Doom, but only on Xbox.
Right.
Or
right.
something
absolutely.
to that effect, because they made a big deal about the fact that this is a combined showcase, which again feels like a really weird thing. So I'm gonna bet that we see updates on a number of Bethesda titles, but also like stuff that's come out in the last couple of years gets some kind of Xbox exclusive updates, and I bet it goes the other way too. Whatever Microsoft is working on, we get some cosmetic DLC or otherwise for those games as well. So we get some Bethesda stuff inserted into Microsoft IPs and vice versa.
I could definitely see that.
That makes sense.
We have talked
I think
about
that
how we
makes a lot of
expect to see
sense.
Halo, and I think we all agree on that. What about anything on the Gears front? I know it's only been about a year and a half since Gears 5 came out, so it feels a bit soon to see anything on the Gears 6 front. Yeah.
Maybe, especially with COVID, I could see it being a little bit delayed. Maybe a teaser at best, but yeah.
That's a good question. So yeah, I said the Coalition earlier about Perfect Dark. I meant to say the Initiative. So, the Coalition is the group working
Coalition
on
is
Gears.
works on Gears.
So I
that's
misspoke
right.
back then. Sorry about that. So yeah, I could see Gears 6. It's a different group, which is what I was confirming. I could see Gears 6 only because Gears 5 came out a while ago at this point, and it did receive a 120 FPS patch for the Series X, which proves that the Coalition has kind of been getting used to the hardware. So, and Gears games have kind of short development cycles, to be honest.
Well, maybe then.
Just because, I mean, hell, the series started on 360 and we're up to 5 of them. And that's not counting Judgment, which was... So technically we have 6 games in the series already. Over what, 10 years or something? So yeah,
Something like that.
I think we'll see Gears 6, or at least whatever the next Gears game is.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well, we have a lot of other companies to cover, and I personally don't have anything more to say about Xbox and Bethesda. It's just kind
Xbox
of out of my
knows how
wheelhouse.
to put on a flashy show, but there's not always a ton to talk about afterward.
Yeah, like
Yes.
There will be cars. There will be cars on stage. Wherever the virtual
if there's a
stage is,
stage,
there
yeah.
will be cars.
they'll-
If there's a stage, yeah.
all right, let's go ahead and move on to Ubisoft, which I don't think we have a lot to talk about with this one either, because I don't play a ton of Ubisoft games. They just did a big blowout for their Far Cry, I believe it's 6. So
Right, Far Cry 6.
I don't know if maybe we'll get more of that on the E3 show floor during their presentation if they have one. Of course, there's also like their Rainbow Six titles. They need all their Tom Clancy stuff and that the usual type of Ubisoft stuff. I'm sure we'll get a new Assassin's Creed, what have you. Like the only thing that could maybe excite me about Ubisoft's presentation is solid information about Beyond Good and Evil that actually features Jade, a new Rayman game.
What?
Yeah. A new Rayman game or a Mario and Rabbids sequel, which would just be out of nowhere and kind of funny.
Man,
I feel like I've heard there have been rumblings about a Mario and Rabbids sequel
Have there?
possibly happening.
there have.
I feel like
I
there
don't know,
have.
maybe.
Maybe I'm just making that up. Yeah. But I could see it happening. I mean, obviously, it was very successful.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very successful crossover, both in terms of the quality of the game and in terms of sales. So I could see that being something that both Nintendo and Ubisoft would want to revisit. And I can't say I'd be surprised to see a Mario and Rabbids 2, pop up around E3 time.
Yeah, for me, I play a lot of Ubisoft. I don't know how to say it. I'm going to say Ubisoft for the sake of consistency, but I play a lot of their games. I really love Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That being said, I don't think that there's an Assassin's Creed game going to be mentioned. I mean, Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out last November, So that's only 6 months ago. And Ubisoft is kind of...
Oh, they stopped the yearly Assassin's Creed releases? It felt like
they
every
were
year
for a long
while
time,
now.
and they did stop that a couple years back. So Valhalla was the first one in a couple of years. So I don't think we're going to see anything new from them until next E3. I think E3 2022 is when we'll see it. However, what's interesting too is they're in an interesting position because they for a while kind of had this thing going where it would be like Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed. But then in November 2020, Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed both came out. So that kind of leaves me wondering what the hell they're working on, that they might have ready to show. We also got Immortals Phoenix Rising. Like last November, they dropped a lot of games. And, they
Right.
honestly, I played all of Watch Dogs Legion. I didn't love it. I thought it was okay. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I haven't finished, but I've been enjoying it immensely. And, same goes for Immortals Phoenix Rising. I think that one was a really cool, it was kind of their take on Breath of the Wild. And it works, but it's definitely very different tonally than Zelda. So I have to think that what they have to show will be... I mean, I imagine we'll get kind of more of the content that I wouldn't say I look to Ubisoft for. Far Cry 6 will definitely get another look at, just because that's something that they definitely like to do. Multiple looks at a game in a short time frame. We'll probably get some DLC for The Division 2, which, I don't really like The Division 2. Just Dance 2021 for sure. Just Dance 2021 is out, so probably some DLC for it, like new songs or
2022. Yeah, 2022.
That's true. Just Dance 2022. I guess they released those like Cars. It comes out the year before.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm kind of torn on I imagine that Ubisoft, because they seem to always have something big cooking. There's some kind of big game that we know nothing about. So it's really hard for me to predict. I really wish that they would take the Starlink concept further. I think Starlink was a great morsel of an idea for a game that they focused way too much on the toys for. Playing Starlink
it was just
as
way
Star
too
Fox,
late.
I was like, holy shit, this is so close to being the Star Fox game I want. And they just didn't stick the landing quite literally, because once you get on a planet, it's pretty barren and boring. So I hope that they refine that and maybe take another crack at it, but it was a huge commercial failure, so I doubt it.
It'd be cool if they could take that team, give them the Star Fox license, and almost make a Star Fox 2 type game.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just with the Starlink ideas. I think that would be a great way to kind of continue the series after Zero.
I mean, if we're talking I don't expect to see it, so please don't take this as a prediction, but my pie in the sky hope would be exactly that. Let them have free reign over Star Fox and just take some of the ideas from Starlink and some of the ideas from Star Fox and mash that shit together, and you could come up with an incredibly fun game.
They really showed they understood the Star Fox vibe and character designs, and I would love to see that team get a crack, as you were saying, Steve, at making just doubling down on the Star Fox aspect. It'll never happen, ever, in my opinion. But I would love to see it.
Another thing that a smaller title, weirdly enough to talk about, is that they might sort of reintroduce. I think it could be Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake. We know that's coming. We have not seen it since the delay. Hopefully, they can kind of re-debut it and kind of set our minds at ease for what that could be, because that is a really good game. It just needs some proper love and time, and hopefully it's getting that with this delay that it recently got.
Yeah, that would be cool. I definitely agree with that. You know what I'd like to see, and again, this is digging into their back catalog a bit, but I don't care. I would love to see a sequel to Child of Light. Child of Light was an awesome game.
Oh,
it's been a long time, but I remember really enjoying that game.
Really cool game.
That would be
same.
But I mean, that would be really I would
nice
love that.
see.
I think that they don't do enough with the UbiArt engine, especially now, because the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games on the UbiArt engine, not counting Rayman Mini for iOS, are all Just Dance games.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, and I guess to bring things back to Beyond Good and Evil really quick, I would love nothing more than to see a Jade-focused update, teaser, trailer, whatever, to Beyond Good and Evil 2, but
That'd be nice.
At this point, I don't even know what to say about the game. I just don't think it's coming.
It seems
it still
cursed.
says coming soon on their website, which is hilarious to me. This still says coming
Michel
soon.
Ancel's no longer there. He says the team it's in good hands with the team, but who knows?
I guess, but
I think the game's canceled.
Me too, and they're just not. It's just like the dirty secret they don't want to actually confirm. But my prediction is that there will be nothing from that game at E3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish I was wrong. I want to be wrong.
Yeah. Oh boy, but I don't play a ton of Ubisoft games, and when I do, they all feel kind of similar in some ways, other than Rayman, which again I wouldn't mind another Rayman game in the vein of Legends or Origins, but I don't know how likely that is anymore either. With again Michel Ancel no longer there, who knows at this point? But let's go ahead and move on to our next company, which this might take up a chunk, maybe, perhaps. Square Enix.
All right.
There's a good bit to talk about. It feels like there's a lot to talk about, but also not, because we just got that Dragon Quest presentation. There's no way that Dragon Quest is going to show up at E3 in that way. We have some of that Final Fantasy VII stuff. They might show off more. They might show more of. But again, the ones that we don't really know a lot about is Ever Crisis and The First Soldier. So maybe we'll get some of that stuff. And maybe we'll get part 2 for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm going to say no on that. I think they're going to focus more on 16, especially with Intergrade coming out so soon.
I agree. 100%. I think we're going to get a bunch of new FF16 information. They've already promised that we are going to get more FF16 stuff in 2021 following the initial reveal. I totally think that's going to be here and now. FF16 is going to have a major presence, I think, in whatever their lineup is. And on top of that, I'm just going to come right out and say that I fully am on board with the Final Fantasy Origin rumors, as well as that demo that apparently they're planning. All that, the Square Enix leaks and stuff. I believe they're real. I do think that they are teaming up with Team Ninja on a Final Fantasy 1 action-y spinoff. I believe all of it, and I think we're going to see it at E3.
I'm pretty hyped for that. If that's real, and it does seem like it would be, I am so there for that.
Yeah.
I think it is.
I agree with everything Ash said. I think that we'll get more on FF16. I think Final Fantasy Origin is going to be the big centerpiece of their presentation. Just, a wildly different take on Final Fantasy. I think they expect that to generate a lot of hype, which it likely will. I think we'll get an extended look at Intergrade, some kind of trailer for it, even though it'll be out by then, maybe?
Yeah, it'll be kind of close to out. And reviews will likely be out at that point. I don't think they need to focus any time on Intergrade. They're not like Nintendo where they kind of like, hey, this is out now and you can get it. Like maybe they'll do a short trailer or like a Accolades trailer, but I don't think anything like new.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd be avoiding it at that point because like, nope, don't spoil me. I want to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 16 is likely. A new trailer for that would be pretty cool. Just getting more of that style here. I actually have a list of all of the developers that'll be here at E3, the major ones. And this article mentions apparently there's a rumor of a Square Enix Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Wow.
I don't think I've heard about this.
I've heard something about that.
I'm not optimistic about that.
Good luck after Avengers, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, after Avengers, I feel like that's the last thing people would want to see.
Unless it's not like doesn't
Crystal
play
Dynamics.
like Avengers.
Yeah. I just like, as much as I love the idea of that, I also love the idea of an Avengers game, and I don't want to like turn this into a dumping on Crystal Dynamics discussion, because I think they did the best they could given the constraints they were, developing this game in. I don't believe that the way Avengers turned out was completely their fault. But after the way that turned out, I don't trust that arrangement, that Square Enix publishing, Crystal Dynamics developing arrangement to be able to do a Guardians game justice. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think nothing really worked right for the Avengers, from the choice of voice talent to the character designs to the dialogue to the gameplay. Like, it was a mess top to bottom. And that is deeply unfortunate, because I think the concept of it is cool. It was just executed in the worst possible way. And yeah, it kind of takes away from my ability to believe in Square and Crystal Dynamics to deliver on another Marvel property.
It's a little trickier, so I don't know. We'll see, but I'm not too hopeful on that one. Trying to think what else we could see from Square. I mean, the thing is, there's a wide thing of tons of franchises that Square Enix has. It's just a matter of will they use them. Like, personally, I would love to see a Parasite Eve remake in the vein of Resident Evil 2. I've said this multiple times.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. It's not happening. There's just no way. We've all wanted to see Chrono Trigger remake in the style of Dragon Quest XI. Not going to happen. I just don't see that. Again, don't see that happening.
Well, there is the piece of news that we reported on that Forever Entertainment is working with Square Enix on remakes.
True.
So, what are the odds that we'll see the first trailer for one of those projects?
I'd say,
which could be Chrono Trigger.
No, not Forever Entertainment.
I hope it isn't. I'm just saying it could be.
No. What franchise?
You're saying your hope
it
isn't because you don't believe in Forever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want a Chrono Trigger remake, but after seeing Dragon Quest 3 2D HD, I want that version of Chrono Trigger.
Me too. Yeah.
That I think a Final Fantasy game in that style would be awesome. I also would just take Final Fantasy 1 through 6 on the Switch, please. I mean,
that would be so nice.
It'd be nice to have we'd have the entire Final Fantasy franchise on the Switch except for 13 and 13, the 13 trilogy and the more recent games. Actually, not even. We have 15 on Switch against that chibi version. So yeah, we only need the first 6 games and the 13 trilogy, which I'll take a leave.
I would be so hype over a 13 trilogy remaster. I could take or leave Lightning Returns, but man, in my veins, I want 13 and 13-2 on modern platforms so badly. God, I wish that. I don't think that's happening. At least if it is, I don't think it's happening at E3. Maybe I could see that being something they do eventually. Because, despite what everyone likes to say about the 13 series, the original 13 sold very well. And so I can see it being within their interests to remaster that trilogy for modern platforms. But I don't think we'll see it here if that is happening.
Not with 16 coming out and all the Final Fantasy 7 hype. Like, the old games are a lot easier to promote because they don't really interrupt anything. 13 feels a little bit closer to what those are.
Exactly. So. And they're going to want to have like everything focused on 16 and that Origin spinoff, assuming it's real, which again I do believe it is. There is one thing here we haven't mentioned, and I wonder if we'll see more Forspoken.
Forspoken. Which one was that?
That's the one. It started off as Project Athia.
Is that the one with the dragon?
Yes, I believe.
Okay,
so.
yeah.
But there
is a lot of original projects they have that could turn into something. I don't know. Didn't they have like a game that they were working on with Platinum as well? Or is that Forspoken?
It's Luminous Productions is making Forspoken.
Okay, so
yeah.
That's right. I keep wanting to say Team Ninja. No, Platinum is working on something else, and I don't know what that is yet. So
right,
yeah, Square keeps having a lot of these games like they're there, but you don't really know much about them. They haven't said much in a while. So I honestly think Square Enix could have a really good E3.
Yeah,
I think so too. It's just a shame so much of it seems to have leaked. But I do think we'll see a little bit more of Forspoken. I feel like they probably want to give an update on that too, so it's not just all Final Fantasy all the time.
I agree that they're not going to want to just talk Final Fantasy, but I think that Square, I agree with you, Derek. They have the potential to have a really good E3. I typically feel pretty good about what Square Enix shows at E3 any given year, so
same.
I'm pretty hyped for their presentation, probably more so than Microsoft's, honestly.
I'm definitely more hyped for Square's. Yeah, but they're all, I'm also always more hyped for Square than most. I'm just a Square Enix. I love their output in general. Even when they miss, I still, enjoy just their aesthetic stuff. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing certainly what they're showing. And I'm looking forward to seeing, especially FF16, only because I want it to grab me. It hasn't yet. And I've mentioned that before. What we've seen so far of it, I haven't been feeling. But of course, I'm not writing it off. So I'm really looking forward to seeing an updated, expanded look at 16 specifically because I want it to grab me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can. I think it has that potential.
Oh, I think so too. I don't think, I will predict that we are not going to see a Chrono Trigger port on Switch. I think we're not going to see Chrono Trigger anything on anything. I wish. No. I want to be wrong, but I don't think they're going to give us that.
No, I don't think you're wrong either. I want you to be, though.
I want you to be, too.
Yeah. We'll see. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next publisher, which is Capcom, which I wonder what we have to say about Capcom, because they have stuff coming. Like, we know Monster Hunter Stories 2 is on the way. They haven't released Resident Evil Reverse yet, even though it was supposed to come with Resident Evil Village. And we know the Greatest Attorney Chronicles is on the way as well. What else could they have? Obviously, Ash, do you think E3 is the time that they would show off like an X9?
No, as much as I want to say, yes, there will be some kind of Mega Man announcement at E3, I don't think there will be. That seems like the kind of thing they can announce whenever they want, and it's going to hit the audience it needs to hit regardless of whenever they announce it, right? Mega Man fans are going to be there no matter what, so it's just a matter of when they drop that next game announcement, and I just don't think they need that to be at E3. So I would like it to be. I will. The one thing I'll say is, and my one exception is that maybe we'll see a Battle Network collection, maybe, but I don't think cool. I don't think we'll get like a new original mainline Mega Man game announced at E3. I think it's either going to be Battle Network collection or nothing on the Mega Man front, sadly.
How do you feel about Capcom, Steve?
I think we get some Street Fighter news.
Oh, okay.
So we're still waiting on one final character to be revealed.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen necessarily. Because typically Capcom likes to reveal characters at tournaments as opposed to like traditional news events. Specifically Capcom Pro Tour events they like to announce characters at. Although they did do that weird just one-off stream for Akira, which was cool. I loved that. So I guess the rules are kind of out the window. The other thing is that Street Fighter 6 has to be in the works.
Definitely.
Has to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like Capcom probably, if I had to guess, COVID probably pushed their plans for Street Fighter 6 back quite a bit. Because I've heard, probably for the last 2 years from people in the know, that Street Fighter 6 was being worked on.
Same.
And that models were being back and forth. And so I feel like Street Fighter 6 is probably right now in a place where it could be announced and released within a year. So but part of me thinks like, oh, well, Capcom clearly isn't done with 5 yet. You know, they haven't finished all their content for 5, so they're probably not going to announce 6 until at least all the fighters have released for 5. So I guess if I had to put probability on it, I would say that we're probably gonna. I don't believe Akira has a date yet. I don't believe their latest reveal had a release date.
I don't think so either. I know they're going to do or I think they probably will do an Akira showcase, and maybe it's at the end of that showcase that they'll announce this last mysterious character. But they can also do that in a Street Fighter Summer Update video, like they have been so far for Street Fighter 5 updates, right? They don't necessarily need E3 for that.
That's true. So Oro will probably get a release date. Oro was announced as a summer character.
Right.
But wasn't given a specific release date either, and then Akira was shown off and not even given a release window. So I think we get a release date for Oro and a potential release date for Akira. Maybe we'll get some info on the last character, but I doubt that. I think that they'll save it for a standalone Street Fighter event. But I think we get some type of update on Street Fighter 5. If I'm being super hopeful, we get something about Street Fighter 6. But again, I just think logically that doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I can't imagine like, buy the DLC for 5. By the way, 6 is coming. Yeah, that seems like an odd marketing
It seems
thing.
like shooting yourself in the foot. Even though, I mean, what the hell is going on with 6 at this point? But beyond that, I feel like Monster Hunter's been well covered. I don't think we're going to get anything new Monster Hunter-wise. Especially since they just had a Monster Hunter stream, which I guess leaves, you know, I'll defer to Ash on all things Mega Man. Man, but I hope we get like the announcement. I guess what I would want to see, and there's no reason for me to expect this, but man, bring back something. Bring back either the Versus series in some way, shape, or form, or Darkstalkers. And I have my reasons to believe. So here's you know what? I'll put the tinfoil hat on, and I'm going to say this has like a 5 to 10% chance of happening. But Capcom versus SNK, either a re-release of 2 or 3 coming. And the reason I say that is because SNK and Capcom have definitely been negotiating, because we just got SNK versus Capcom on the Switch.
Right.
So that means that SNK had to reach out and re-secure the rights for the Street Fighter characters in that game. And I mean, Capcom's not just going to give that away. If they're negotiating, I'm sure that Capcom got something out of that deal. And I feel like it would have been really stupid of them to just get money out of that deal. I feel like the smarter move would have been like, hey, you want rights to our characters, give us back rights to yours, and we're going to use them in some way. So I'm hopeful that we get the announcement. Like, I would die even if they were just like, you know, we got a logo reveal and they're like, CVS 3 is in development. That's it. I'm done. E3's over. I'm going home.
Oh, that would be so hype.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. We just need something. Or even if you just tell me that CVS 2 is getting a port to modern consoles, I'm done. This is excellent. Yeah. So that's my hope. I'm going to say 5 to 10% chance we get some announcement related to Capcom versus SNK, because we know they negotiated recently. So I'm hopeful that will bear some fruit.
I'm wondering if we maybe might see something on the Resident Evil front, but specifically for Switch. Like,
didn't we get those rumors about Revelations 3?
Yeah, there have been rumors kind of, just hovering around and kind of in the background about a Revelations 3-esque project. And, Revelations 1 and 2, as far as I understand it, were considered very successful. And, there has been that kind of sub-series that's kind of started with Nintendo exclusivity and then gone to other platforms later on. So I'm wondering if, since we just got Resident Evil 8, having just been released and was obviously very well received, not that really has anything to do with their E3 planning, but I do wonder if, since, Village is now out and we've gotten that next big mainline game, is it time for a surprise on the Switch end of like with a Resident Evil Revelations 3 type Switch exclusive that will eventually, go to other platforms down the road.
That'd be cool. I'd be down.
Man,
I've not played any of the previous Revelations games, but I mean, I'm so down. I'm a nice Resident Evil kick after Village.
I got to say, I'll throw that out as kind of like a mild prediction. I could totally see a Resident Evil project for Switch being announced.
Yeah,
nice.
I could definitely see.
Yeah,
that.
I could see that.
Trying to think of anything else on the Capcom front. I know there's a ton out there that they could do. I think that's what makes it so tricky to predict, is because they do have so many franchises they could just pull from and do something with. But
seems a bit too soon for Devil May Cry, right? Since we just got DMC5 Special Edition not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago, but man, I'd be really happy with the Devil May Cry 6 out of nowhere.
Right? It just took so long for us to get 5. The gulf between 4 and 5 was so long, even taking DMC into account.
Yeah.
That I just feel like we probably won't get that yet. Again, I'm unfortunately not expecting anything on the Mega Man front.
I feel like they got their feedback where they need to go for DMC with 5, so I think it won't be as long of a wait. They don't have all the things getting muddled this time around, so I don't think it's happening, but it'd be really cool. Like, maybe next year.
Right. Right. Capcom, prove me wrong on Mega Man, please. I don't mind being wrong. I'll be wrong. Wrong. Just make me wrong. Please make me be wrong on this.
Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying about the Versus series, Steve, that makes me wonder, and I'm right there with you. I'd be so hyped to see CVS 2 port or CVS 3 announcement. Hell yeah. But that does just make me think of the weird position the Marvel vs. Capcom series finds itself in now. The very awkward position after the flop of Infinite, just because of that game's terrible marketing, awkward visual style, very clearly MCU choked roster, right? But I feel like it's too big a license and too beloved a crossover to just let it ride off into the sunset with such a disappointing final act. And by the way, I say that as someone who enjoyed Infinite's gameplay, but you can't ignore the fact that it was just objectively a flop in the market. But I just wonder, is it over for MVC? Might we see something on that front? Maybe not at E3, probably not. But I just wonder, it's in such a weird
Maybe that's
position.
why they might push more towards Capcom versus SNK instead. Especially since there are those rumors of, NetherRealm handling a Marvel fighting game.
That's true. There is. Yeah, I forgot about that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
The one thing I could see is that post MCU Marvel has probably become pretty arrogant in terms of how they approach licensing deals and stuff like that, and they likely saw MVC Infinite for what it was, which was a flop, and it's very likely that they approached Capcom and said, "You're not getting a chance to do this again." Right. and told them, come back to us when you've proven yourselves, and we'll consider letting you borrow our blockbuster characters again.
I could totally see that. Yeah,
I could definitely see a bigwig at Marvel looking at Injustice and being like, well, that's the type of game our characters should be in. Gritty and realistic like our films.
That's totally Marvel.
Yeah,
so I just a damn shame. I mean, I think you're right. It's just from everything I've heard, all the development woes behind the scenes were mostly caused by Marvel, from what I understand.
Which makes sense.
But I could totally see them, despite that being the case, doing exactly what you were saying, Steve, in a post MCU Phase 3 especially world, where they're just like, we can do whatever the hell we want.
I don't know this for sure, but one thing that might help this time around is, when Infinite came out, I'm pretty sure Ike Perlmutter was still with Marvel, and he was definitely one of those screw you type things. Like, he was the one that we don't own X-Men or Fantastic Four, so tank those comics. Screw those comics. Don't promote those characters since we don't own them. But he's gone now, and now Disney owns those characters, so that might help things open up and give Capcom that second chance. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move on. We got good old Bandai Namco.
Nice.
Bandai Namco. Which, I don't know, I guess the big thing to get excited about that we don't know anything about is Elden Ring. But we do know Scarlet Nexus is on its way. We got those demos out for both Xbox and PS4 and 5 now. And Tales of Arise is coming. We just got box art for that pretty recently. So that's something to be excited about. But of course, Elden Ring and what Miyazaki's team is doing is the big question. So, do we think Elden Ring will be at the show?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm a little bit more 50-50 on it, but it's just feels like that game is in dev hell right now, and I don't think we're going to see it at E3 either.
Something about getting Martin involved, I swear.
The thing I think is interesting about Elden Ring and why I firmly believe it won't show up is you might remember a couple months ago there was a leak of a trailer for Elden Ring, and it was like, I mean, it was just another CG trailer that showed like a tiny bit of gameplay here and there, and I'm like, this is being guarded so well that it has to come out via like somebody's blurry, like they're watching it on a TV in a home or something. Like, it was just a weird setup for that, and I firmly believe that the game probably is not performant enough to really showcase in demos. Bandai Namco has what I would call a pretty low bar for a playable demo. I remember playing the last Naruto game they released, Ultimate Striker or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And it crashed like 3 times in a 20-minute demo.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, all right, well, I'm leaving now. And they were like, oh, we're so sorry, we'll send you the game when it's done. And I'm like, I'm fine. I don't know that you'll have it working by then. The game did come out, and it's a solid B- effort. But I don't know. I don't anticipate Elden Ring being a major thing at E3. It also seems weird. Like, this is one of those games that Bandai doesn't seem content to really market themselves, but rather let the platform holders do it for them. Like, I don't really recall a lot of Elden Ring info coming directly from Bandai Namco. Instead, I remember seeing it more at Xbox conferences. and stuff like that.
Right.
So I imagine that, you know, this is one of those games that the higher ups at these big platform holders have blessed and have deemed as being cool in the same way Cyberpunk was cool to them. And they're just like, yeah, whenever you get a new trailer, we'll show it on our platform, and you guys could just fuck off into space with your anime stuff.
Well, speaking of that anime stuff, do you think we'll get a new Dragon Ball game, Steve?
I
was wondering that.
I do.
Okay.
Not based on anything. So
Yeah.
I don't have any sources at Bandai Namco that would tell me stuff like this, but I've been thinking about it, and Fighters has been out for quite some time, even though that was Arc System Works. And Xenoverse 2 is going on, what, like its 7th year?
It's been a while.
It's been a long time. It was on, you know, everything. And we got Kakarot, which has been out for, what, 2 years almost? Or was Kakarot was not 2020, was it?
That might have been the very beginning
so.
of 2020.
You know what? I think you might be right. Yeah, it released in January 2020. That's still a year and a half ago at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would imagine, and Bandai Namco, unlike other folks we've talked about, they definitely have the ability to have multiple teams working on multiple things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to guess, Xenoverse 3 has probably been in the works for quite some time. You know, they and whoever worked on Kakarot probably got shifted to that project after. And there's been a whole ton of new Dragon Ball since Xenoverse 2. And,
I was going to say, Xenoverse 3 has the ability to really focus on Super this time around, rather than rehashing the same stuff we've seen from Z.
Exactly.
They can focus on all the Super arcs, including put in Moro. That'd be something.
Yeah, put in Moro, cover the Brawly movie. There's a brand new Dragon Ball Super movie in development, so depending on when Xenoverse 3 drops, it could also cover that, because the Dragon Ball Super movie releases next year. We don't know anything about it, but it's due sometime next year, which, if I had to guess, is about a year away from now. So yeah, there's a ton of new Dragon Ball content for them to include in a game, and Xenoverse 2 has done like these half-hearted updates where they include content and they say it's like story content, but it's not really. Like your Xenoverse character doesn't get to engage in any of it, and you just unlock, like, you know, the characters from the movie. Like you can play as Dragon Ball Super Brawly within Xenoverse 2, I think. But you know, your character never gets to fight him, and I don't know anybody that only plays Xenoverse to play as the existing Dragon Ball characters.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would expect we get finally like a next gen Xenoverse game, because Xenoverse 2, if I remember correctly, was like a beginning PS4 game, like not even long into the console life cycle. So yeah, I suspect if not Xenoverse, some other type of Dragon Ball game will drop from Bandai Namco at E3. We'll get a trailer, you know, potentially just an announcement trailer, but something. There'll definitely be. They're not going to let Dragon Ball wither on the vine.
It'll never happen, but I would really be excited for like a full-blown action-adventure Dragon Ball title.
Oh, hell yeah.
That would be cool as hell. Yeah. I'm totally going to co-sign with you guys. I agree that we'll probably see something new in the Dragon Ball front from Bandai Namco. Beyond that, though, they're so weird. Like, Bandai Namco's in this weird place to me that, like, they used to be so much more hype for me personally than they are now, just because their focus has just naturally shifted onto things I'm not personally as into. A lot of anime licenses, and I love anime, but... And anime games are great, but, you know, when I think Bandai Namco, I think, like, Ridge Racer, Klonoa, Pac-Man, stuff that they're still doing Pac-Man, but, like, it's inconsistent at best. They completely dropped Ridge Racer. Klonoa's apparently dead. I mean, they've got that whole Klonoa Encore thing, but that hasn't
It could
shown up
happen.
anywhere.
It could happen.
It could. I'm going to say it's not. It may happen eventually, but I just feel like that's going to show up in a random direct at some point. Like, oh, Klonoa Wii is now being ported to the Switch. So, I don't expect anything really beyond that from the whole Klonoa Encore trademark thing. So I don't think we'll see Klonoa at E3, and that's what's weird for me is that normally, or it used to be that I would find it a little more easy to predict some of what they might do, but they're in this weird, they're not quite Konami, they're not, but they're Konami adjacent to me, where I'm just like, they seem to be so mostly focused on things I don't care about except for the odd Dragon Ball game or such, that I always go in expecting more from Bandai Namco at E3 than what I ultimately end up getting. So I don't want to. Yeah.
I don't follow it too much, but could we expect the Tekken?
No. It has been a while since Tekken 7's been a thing, but it's time for Tekken 8, but I don't think we're going to see it.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see a new Soul Calibur either, but Tekken I think is Soul Calibur, a little bit older.
In Japan, Katsuhiro Harada, the producer of Tekken, runs, like, he does his own live streams from a bar, which, all right, that's
so on brand.
But it's actually really cool because he works, like, in the kitchen, and he has his guests come in and, like, put in orders, and he makes them their order and feeds them while he interviews them, which is a really cool, like, unique thing he does.
That's great.
In one of his recent episodes, he was asked about Tekken 7 continuing. And he did say, he said, I think the time for Tekken 7 has passed. But he also kind of implied that Tekken 8 was not really fully in active development yet. Like, it was still in the planning stages or something.
That's kind of the vibe I got, just kind of in general, so that's good to know. Yeah, even though it's time for Tekken, I don't expect to see a Tekken announcement at E3.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the last developer I think we all want to talk about, which is SEGA. And
oh boy.
This one's going to be... I mean, the thing is, we don't really need to talk about Sonic. I don't think we'll see much Sonic there unless they decide to just like, all right, we gave you the tease for this, apparent Sonic Rangers. Bam, here it is. I don't think we'll see that. So it's other stuff from Sega.
They seem to be on their own schedule with Sonic because they've already straight up kind of suggested that Sonic Central is going to be its own thing going forward, that they're just going to drop Sonic news whenever they feel like it. So I agree. I think on the Sonic front, we've gotten the news we're going to get, and we'll get our next news drop later this summer. But E3 is not going to have anything new on the Sonic front, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah. I think that we're going to see something new from Yakuza, probably DLC. We're going to see a much closer look at Lost Judgment.
Yes.
Since that comes out 3 months after E3. I believe we're going to get a ton of info on PSO2 NGS because it is wildly successful in Japan, and I feel like Sega's going to do a major marketing push in the West to try to gain the same level of success here because they're going for a worldwide launch for this one, which is a first. Yeah, but beyond that, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's too early. It shouldn't be, but I feel like it's too early for Persona. Since Sega and Atlas are in the same house now.
So on the Persona front, because I don't think we're going to get Persona 6. I don't think that's coming quite yet. That's where I think you're right about it being too early. I do think we might see another Persona 5 spin-off, or hopefully some Persona ports. But I think the more likely option is another spin-off. What form it might take, I'm not exactly sure. Might be the time to return to another fighting game, but 3D Arc, blanking on it. The Guilty Gear and BlazBlue and Dragon Ball. Arc System Works. Thank you. Yeah. They seem really busy. There's a lot of fighting games they're balancing, and I can't see them because I believe they're the ones that did Persona, the Persona fighting games. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I believe so.
But I think they're a little too busy to handle that as well. So I'm not quite sure what else they would do with that. But I think that's the best we can expect from Persona.
Yeah. I agree. I don't expect to see P6. Hopefully some ports. So many people want to see. I know P4 and P5 and P3 ported to the Switch. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for that. I don't think we'll see anything beyond that, though, even if we even see that. So we'll see kind of where that goes. I do think we could maybe, as part of all this, maybe they'll just drop a release date for the Mr. X Nightmare for Streets of Rage 4. That's coming. We know it's coming. We just don't really have a date yet.
Is Sega going to do that, though?
Yeah, I don't know if that's directly Sega, so I'm not sure
it's not. Yeah, well, it's true. They wouldn't really need to. They would probably just leave that up to .emu or Guard Crush. So, yeah, they don't really need to do that themselves. I don't expect anything on the Miku front. It doesn't really feel like it's time for that yet. Megamix has been out for a little while, but I don't know. I don't really feel like it's time for another Miku game yet, so...
Like, maybe we'll get a Total War game, but I can't imagine us getting anything too huge from Sega, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I don't think we are either.
I agree with that. I will tell you my hope is that we see a continuation of the Sega Ages line for the Switch. I hope that they announce that they're going to continue that, because I know M2 had mentioned, and Sega, that they wanted to look into the possibility of porting Dreamcast games to the Switch.
Oh, please.
Man, if they just started porting Dreamcast games, I don't even know that I care where they begin with that. Just start it.
Dreamcast and or Saturn, man. Just in my veins, I'd be so happy to buy ports of Dreamcast and Saturn games.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the dream right there. But yeah, I think Sega with Sonic Central did plenty good. I wonder if we'll see like maybe a small like update or a new trailer, but I doubt it, because Sonic Central was so recent.
Yeah.
But there's that part of me that always hopes that Sonic Mania 2 is just going to show up, and I know that's not going to happen. But for the love of God, Sega.
For better and worse, we'll probably get some more. In fact, there were some new details recently just released on the House of the Dead remake that Forever Entertainment's doing. So we'll probably see a new asset drop on that. Maybe we'll even get the formal announcement of the Panzer Dragoon 2 remake that we know they're working on.
I don't remember Sega promoting either. For whatever reason, Sega does not promote whatever Forever Entertainment does. I don't remember them promoting the original
I
Panzer
wonder
Dragoon.
what the reason is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we'll actually see that.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, but I in general, I don't expect Sega to have much of a presence here.
Yeah, Sega mentioned in their financial report about trying to promote other old series. So but I think it's too early. Like, unless they've been planning that, and we're going to see the results, I don't think we're going to see anything quite like that anytime soon.
Agreed.
Right.
So.
Yeah, hell, I mean, even Panzer Dragoon remake was, it was outed in a Nintendo Direct. It had nothing to do with Sega. So,
right.
Yeah. I know that was the last company on our publisher on our list, Derek, but really quick, I did want to circle back to Square Enix really quickly, because we actually didn't mention their Western, other than Avengers and stuff. We didn't really mention their Western lineup very much. Do we expect to maybe see... This is Tomb Raider's 25th anniversary celebration year, and they did already tease that more stuff would be happening on the Tomb Raider front. Do we think we'll see a Tomb Raider announcement at E3?
I hope so. I don't know if we will, but I hope so. It'd be cool.
Yeah. I do too. Like, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's been a few years out now, or a couple of years out now. Great game, horrible story. I would really like to see them try to... I'd just like to see them make another mainline Tomb Raider game that marries both a good story and the great gameplay in the remake trilogy. And we've seen they can do it. I like the story in the first Tomb Raider remake game, and even the second. So they can do it. It's just a matter of where they go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. But otherwise, I think that's about everything. I mean, obviously, we're going to be missing some stuff, and that's the fun part of E3. You never know what's going to pop up. But
I guess go
ahead, Ash.
Sorry, I guess speaking of things we haven't mentioned, I guess I should say, yes, Sony has not... PlayStation doesn't have a confirmed E3 presence, but be that as it may, I've been seeing some chatter online like, oh, well, they just showed that really cool Horizon Forbidden West State of Play, but we didn't get a release date. Maybe we'll get a release date, around E3. No, we're not. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
It's not that we're getting a release date later this year, but I think we're done with PlayStation stuff in terms of, if they want to show anything, it'll be in another State of Play. There's not going to be anything specifically E3 related, though, I don't think.
I agree with that 100%. I also have to add, and I can't believe it took me almost 3 hours of recording to realize I haven't said this yet.
Oh, God.
No More Heroes 3. No More Heroes 3 is going to be at E3. I can't believe I didn't say that during the Nintendo part of our discussion, but Jesus Christ, it comes out 2 months after.
It'll definitely be
there.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I think with that, we have covered all of our many E3 predictions for this year. Again, I'm not expecting a lot. This is just sort of like pie in the sky stuff. But we'll be reacting to every one of these conferences. We'll be there to get our live reactions, talk about it, analyze something if it's nice and big and worth talking about. We will absolutely be there to cover E3 2021. Hopefully it's a good one. Fingers crossed. But at the very least, thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/gvgaming. At $5, you can join us at the live audience tier for our TNT that happens every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's a lot of other fun goodies in there as well. But even just subscribing to the channel and ringing the bell helps us a ton. We just appreciate all of your support, all of you watching and listening to our crazy predictions, and just looking forward to it. So until that time, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.